All right. There we go. I'm on green now. All I'm waiting on is Rod and Josh. We'll get started here in just a second. As you scroll on through, come on, join us for the 12th Culture of Splife episode. Who all have we got going live together right now? Can't get my guys in here. There we go. Come on now, let's invite Culture of Splife Podcast to go live with me. All right. Got a couple. Who's first? Fantastic. Let's let you get on here with the...
Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, hey.
All right. Got some viewers in here. We're going live together. All right, guys. This is an interesting podcast. I didn't share you guys with this, but right now, we're experiencing some downtime on the hosting. I'm getting all that straightened out. Don't have to get all technical on you guys first thing in a podcast. But I realized today that I just sort of skipped one of the episode numbers. just completely skipped it. So this will be our 12th episode again.
Oh.
Right. So it's our 12th episode again. It's our 1 week anniversary of our 12th episode. It was just such a lovely time. Y'all should have been there. It was great. We're doing it all over again.
Was it the drop the call episode?
No. It wasn't the. Although I think that is what messed me up on my numbering. Was the drop the call episode? That was actually, I think, the 10th episode, if I'm not mistaken. And I called it the 11th or something. So we technically didn't have a 10th episode. And of course, if you're going to fact check me on it, you browse through our podcast episode list. We're found at Culture of Splife everywhere. You're going to see that the second episode's missing as well. That was the one we had the audio issue on that was real weird or whatever. So there's that. And I don't know. Do you guys actually, you're on it live. Do you ever actually check it out in syndication at all?
Uh-huh.
Did y'all notice this last one? We have an intro now with music.
Oh no, I haven't checked it out.
I did not check this last one out like that. So I'm going to definitely have to come back on that.
Yeah, so there is an intro with music on there. So got a hello down in the comments. Hello everybody joining us on TikTok Lives. Generally we're normally live at 8:30 Central Time on TikTok Live on Mondays, although that's negotiable right now because of life with kids and everything like that.
Man.
We're here on Tuesday this week, so who knows what it'll be next week. We always keep it up to date on Facebook, though. Follow us at Culture of Splife on Facebook, just to make it difficult, right? I guess I could probably do a live preview on TikTok so that people will know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Throwing in some new flavor.
So, Drew, I had no idea that you used 12 twice, except for the fact that my phone was blowing up today. I had a call from ESPN, Fox Sports, HBO Sports. They were like, why are you using 12 twice?
Because 13's unlucky, duh.
I thought they were wrong, but,
No.
Yeah, it's just like on the elevator. We only use 13th floor. So, I mean, that's why we use 12 twice.
Yep.
That's right.
Even though technically this is the 12th episode, but it's the 11th syndicated episode. So I don't even know anymore how to keep track.
Drew, so basically what you're telling us is you drop more than the call. We dropped the episode.
Right. I dropped an entire episode. I had to drop an episode here, so we'll see. Maybe next week is our 13th episode. I don't know. I'll have to recount it. And you know what? The hosting's down anyway right now, so I don't even know what's on the website at all at this point. You go to it for 1 minute and it looks one way. You go to it and it looks another. So who knows? I don't even know what we're doing here anymore.
That's the beauty of it.
That's it.
It's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. All right. Speaking of crazy stuff, Rod, your life's getting crazy. Are people harassing you yet, Mr.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people
second bracketologist in the world?
Yes. A lot of people are asking all types of questions about who's in, who's out, and the thing that I get most of the time is especially like those teams that are on the bubble. Like I know last year, like Xavier fans were just like blowing me up like crazy. And now you've got like, people like, like Wisconsin or Penn State and all these guys like, well, our resume should be good enough to be in. So those are typically the ones that really, really get like, am I in or not? So that's
I was watching the Auburn game Saturday in between my son's soccer games. And did y'all see the blind resume comparison that they did?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
So it showed all of these acronyms. You probably know what they are, Rod. It was like EdMom or something. I don't know.
KenPom.
Yeah, exactly. I had no clue what they were talking about. But it was obvious that Auburn was one of them. And then I didn't know what the other was. And Auburn has like the 26th hardest strength of schedule. And this other team had 37th. And again, Auburn was beating this team in every category. And then they did the reveal, and it was Northwestern on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So we beat them in head-to-head. We beat them in all these things, and they're a 6 seed. Yeah. And at the time of the game, we were fighting for our March Madness lives.
Yeah, Auburn is securely in. Doesn't matter what happens with Arkansas, you're in.
Nice. For at least 1 week, 1 game.
Am I the only Auburn fan that's kind of like, man, I would just really love to go to the NIT and dominate? Like, am I that guy? Like, because okay, so I mean, even on the show, right, Rod? You're an Alabama fan. Me and Josh are Auburn fans through and through. So I always have Alabama fans talking to me about Auburn stuff because, I feel like I'm a little bit of a realist, right? There for a while, Josh even called me the Auburn Whisperer because I just knew, like, what's going to happen in Auburn sports. And this year, I'm like, man, I really kind of was hoping for that NIT going all the way to the end because I don't think we're going to do so well in the tournament this year, guys. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, depends on the matchup. I think probably first round might be it. But like you say, NIT, you could be the NIT champion and kind of have that whole Central Florida type of claim.
Exactly.
Shout out, Josh.
Hey, Andrew, I was about to talk about Brent Keating. He's a big Oklahoma State fan, big listener of the show. In fact, he just messaged me that we need to put this link on our Facebook page. So if you wouldn't mind checking to see.
Big Oklahoma State fan.
Oh, and Day One just texted me. He can't get on. He can't access live. Man, what's going on here?
It is on there. I just can't help the TikTok people doesn't like our listeners.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So, your boy about Oklahoma State, they're going to have to win a couple of games in the Big 12 tournament to get in. Like some people like to have them in. I don't have them in right now. They're one of those last 4 teams out.
Sure. Yeah, they got to play Oklahoma tomorrow night. And then after that, I guess they'll probably play like a Kansas or something, I imagine.
Yeah, Oklahoma is one of those teams that even though they have a losing record, and obviously us Alabama fans know all too well after getting beat by like 25 by them, they're the type of team that could beat you if you don't show up. So they'll definitely have to win that game, which is almost like a lose-lose situation because you're not gaining anything from beating them, but you lose everything from losing to them.
Right. That's true.
How deep do you go into the Big 12, man? That's almost the whole conference making it if Oklahoma State ends up in there, right? You've only got three left out?
At least 9. There's at least 9 in there. Most likely 9 to 10 teams are going to make it from there.
Wow.
Yeah, that could be. I would imagine Texas Tech and Oklahoma not making it, right?
Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State are three that I don't have in there right now.
Oh yeah, Oklahoma State could be in with a win or two. I think, like you said. Although dominate the NIT, right?
Yeah.
You go in there, you win it all. So,
That was a crazy stat about NIT for years. It was one of those type of things where the team that won the NIT would make a deep run the next year in the tournament. Like I think that was a big time stat, like in mid 2000s, early 2010s. It was working out that way.
I think Alabama was the one that broke that stat, right?
Pretty sure he probably did.
Because they came up with the NIT win, and then I don't think they made the tournament the next season. I think they ended up firing their coach the next season, right?
Yep, Avery Johnson.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If I am not mistaken. I could be a couple of years off there. Because I feel like that NIT win was a big momentum thing for them, and then they just fizzled out. I just don't remember if it was over 1 or 2 seasons that they did.
No, I mean, that very next season, they seemed to be securely in for a long period of time, and then they just fell apart at the end of the year and in the tournament. And so, I mean, the conference tournament, and so that was it.
How about Florida State this year? Wow. I must have been under a rock. They didn't even get to double digits.
Yeah, they totally fell apart. And then lost today on a free throw.
Oh, wow.
Like Georgia Tech beat them. They fouled the guy with 0.3 of a second on the clock. So, of course, he made the first shot, and this is what I do love about decent coaching. He missed the last shot on purpose so they wouldn't have a chance to set something up.
And amazingly, they weren't the worst team in their conference.
Oh, no. Louisville. Wow. Funny story about them. So their last home game of the season, they were 4-25 was their record, which I never thought to ever see the day that Louisville, out of 29 games, would lose 25 of them in the regular season. So their last home game was against Virginia. Of course, they were getting boat race as they have been in all of their games. So they had like the dog trainer with the little dog show with the Frisbees and everything at halftime. And the dog just pooped all over the floor. And so what was crazy about that was I think the announcer said something like, "That's indicative of this season." He just crapped on the floor. Everybody's been doing that here.
You were spot on that one. I'd forgotten that was Louisville that happened to.
Yes.
I actually saw it. I didn't see the game, of course, because I don't get the 9th ESPN. My package only goes up to 7, so I missed the Louisville game. But I actually saw it here on TikTok about 4 different ways, right? Because when you see it one way, there's music in the background and stuff, and you're like, "Oh, that dog just crapped in the floor." It reminded me of this one time. This is an awful story, but just bear with me, guys. It's not as bad as losing my signal, but there was this one time I was in the Galleria, right? And you remember the Galleria in Birmingham used to have the glass elevators.
Yes.
Well, I'm sitting there waiting on the elevator because I had my youngest in a stroller. And I'm waiting on the elevator, and this lady comes through with a seeing eye dog. And the seeing eye dog wasn't behaving like a seeing eye dog normally does, because like normally they're like pretty spot on. That seeing eye dog just stops, and the woman keeps walking. So she's dragging her seeing eye dog behind her, right? And dragging it while that seeing eye dog just craps on the floor. And then like the guy that's with her, who is a seeing person, then has to clean up after the dog after, she just drugged, and she's still walking because after the dog was done, it just kept going. It just leaves him behind. And so he gets the bag and cleans it up. And it's like all mad and like throwing poop in the mall and everything. It was one of the greatest trips to the Galleria I've ever had in my entire life.
I wonder why he didn't tell her to wait for a second while he cleaned it up.
I don't know. He
She
got
could hear,
mad,
right?
like as if she would know, like she saw it happen, and he got mad and everything. I was like, oh, there's a lot to unpack there, psychologically speaking. We're just gonna leave
There's
it
a lot for
alone.
the dog to unpack too, apparently.
Yeah, right. we still walk. Of course, the mall's been redone since then. You got the Von Mar there. The elevators are gone and stuff. But we walk by there from time to time. It's on the second level. So next time y'all are there, y'all can just be like, that right there, that's the spot that Drew saw a dog poop in the floor. It's
Wow.
I don't know why this
that was
podcast
the
always
greatest
digresses to that
situational
topic.
irony of all time. That halftime show though, for Louisville.
So speaking of pooping on the floor, did y'all see the end of the Celtics game last night?
I did, man. Talk. What happened?
So the game was tied. They were playing in Cleveland. Cleveland was a big favorite. Not that that matters in the NBA. But Grant Williams went to the line with, I think, 0.6 left with the game tied. And Donovan Mitchell walked up to him, was talking trash, and you can read his lips. He says, I'm going to make both of them. And he proceeds to miss both of them. And Celtics lose in overtime. Celtics are struggling, man. They lost against the Knicks in overtime this weekend.
Man, that game, I was actually following it, and it was hyped on Twitter like all day yesterday. And so I was like, you know what? We have a sports podcast. I am going to pay attention to this game. And nope, went to bed. As I do on many sports. That's what I do.
You know what's so funny about Grant Williams is at Tennessee, he made a name for himself being a flopper. Like that was his thing at Tennessee. Like all he ever did was flop, and I mean even early on in the NBA. So how ironic is it for him that his biggest flop was calling making 2 free throws and missing them both?
Right. I did watch an unbelievable game. I think that was Sunday night. The Clippers and the Grizzlies, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
The Grizzlies scored 51 points in the third quarter. And the Clippers had been controlling the game, obviously, until that. And then they went into the fourth quarter down, 9 or something like that. And they outscored the Grizzlies 38-21 in the fourth quarter to come back.
So the Clippers finally won a game since Westbrook has been there.
Yeah, exactly.
Westbrook.
Yeah. Oh man, he got some negative press today, I guess, and we've seen him do this a lot. He allows fans to get under his skin. Have y'all noticed this? Very much. So against Sacramento a few days ago, a fan must have said something to him, and he called the usher over to kick the fan out, and he was going like this.
I mean, like, again, the only thing you should be doing this to is your game at this point. I mean, like he's the last guy that should be giving anybody the Apollo sign,
Right.
the Showtime at the Apollo sign. I mean, like, goodness.
Did you see what Draymond Green said? He said, when you start playing basketball, you're taught if you're open to shoot. But if you're open all the time, shouldn't that tell you something?
Yeah.
And then it showed him like barely at the free throw line and Westbrook at the 3-point line. Like not even thinking about going out there.
I mean, and some of his bricks and air balls have just been like epic level ones. Yeah. I mean, there was games where I've been like watching these air balls and I'm thinking I'm gotta duck this in my living room. I mean, because this is like it's coming at me.
Maybe he needs to call Markelle Fultz and maybe get his shot fixed like Markelle did.
That's some straight up high school basketball stuff. I remember when I was in college, I was an athletic trainer for the high school tournament, because it was hosted at my college. And there was this one guy that was talking to me, knew me from, we had classes together, and he was coming because his high school was playing, and he's like, yeah, man, that's That's my guy right there. Watch him. He's a playmaker, man. Watch him. He's the playmaker on the team. He's a play. It just kept hyping this guy up. I was pumped during warm-ups. He didn't seem that impressive, but I was pumped. That guy stood around on the basketball court more than anything I've ever seen. And then the 3 shots he made, I had to dodge because I was right there underneath the goal. And I'm just like, whoa, what's happening? The playmaker making me play. We're playing dodgeball. That's what we're playing. That's what that reminds me of.
Speaking of playing, y'all ready to play a little Uncle Joe's?
Talk to us. What does Uncle Joe got for us?
Yes. So those of y'all that are tuning in for the first time or are here all the time, we're going to play a game we like to call Uncle Joe's Trivia. So Uncle Joe is my uncle-in-law, and he'll pull me aside in holiday get-togethers and hit me with a trivia question. So that's why we decided to name this segment Uncle Joe's Trivia. And in Uncle Joe's Trivia, what do? We don't cheat.
That's
we
right.
Act like we're at the sports bar. It's trivia night, and we have to have our phones away, our World Book of Knowledge away if we brought that in, trying to sneak it in there. So just use your brain. Give us your best. So we got 2 questions for you tonight. The first question is, as we all know, Antoine Davis, Mike Davis's son at Detroit Mercy, was 3 points away from breaking the all-time scoring record in NCAA history. And some may know this won't be the trivia question, but Pistol Pete Maravich actually has that record with 3,667 points. So it took Antoine Davis 144 games to get 3,664 points. How many games did it take Pistol Pete Maravich to get 3,667 points?
Yeah, this should be good right here.
I saw Larry just came in. Oh, yeah, you already said.
And Eric, day one.
Welcome back, Larry.
That's right. You the man.
Larry, you got an answer for that?
How many games?
How many games did it take Pistol Pete Maravich to have the all-time scoring record in NCAA history?
Like, if we really even think about it, like 3,300 points, right? That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. Yeah, and I'm going to hit y'all with a stat when I give away the answer that's going to blow our listeners' mind. With a stat when I give away the answer that's going to blow our listeners' mind. He played, 3 to 4 years?
Are you talking about Davis or are you talking about Pistol Pete?
Mind. He played, 3 to 4 years?
Are you talking about Davis or are you talking about Pistol Pete?
I'm talking about Pistol Pete.
I was talking about what Larry was asking.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. So there you go. 168. Wow, that's a good guess. Stay tuned, Larry. Stay tuned. Don't look it up. Stay tuned. All right, so our second question, since we're talking about the NCAA tournament, I thought a good question for tonight would be, there has only been one 16 seed to upset a 1 seed in NCAA history. Who was that 16 seed, and who did they beat?
This won't help you guys, but Drew can tell you. I called that.
Yeah. Yep, that is a date which will remain in infamy. Although I will say this, Josh, I'm going to be fair here. This is specific to the men's tournament. The women's tournaments, it has happened in before.
Yes.
Yeah, but in the men's tournament, it's only happened the one time. So yeah, Eric's got it.
Day one.
Day one.
Made it in here.
That
Killed my trivia.
That is who they beat. That is a true statement.
Okay, now they beat UVA, and listeners, we actually have a sponsor. I haven't talked about this in the last couple weeks, but we actually have a $25 gift card to the first person that gets the trivia question right on our show. So, Eric, you said they beat UVA.
You're very
Who was
warm.
it that beat UVA?
You're very warm.
Yep. You're on fire right here for sure.
You're like first and goal right now for that gift card.
That's you know what's weird about it? Have they done anything else noteworthy since then? I don't know that they have.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It was just that time. They're not in your bracket this year, right?
Oh no. I mean, hey, this is conference tournament week, so anything can happen, but no.
No, I don't know that anything can happen that's that drastic. So, because, I'm thinking here, let's just say for instance, okay, let's just throw out a hypothetical. The worst seed, in their conference tournament, goes on to just hot streak, wins their tournament. Do they make it to the? Is that an automatic bid? Do they automatically?
Yes, all conference tournament champions are an automatic bid. So that's how you get a lot of your play-in games where you all of a sudden see, well, wait a minute, Arkansas Pine Bluff is 16-18. What? Well, they won their tournament.
Gotcha.
And so it's unfortunate for a lot of people that you'll see, I'm just using them as an example. Let's say College of Charleston, who was 30-3. Let's say they lost to Hofstra or something in their conference tournament. Well, they're that team that, Dickie V and everybody is shouting about, this is a travesty, baby. How are they not 30-3, not in the tournament? This is usually how that happens. They lose.
Yeah, I know that's normally what, St. Louis, their bid into the tournament is winning their conference. But I don't even know that they would do it this year.
We call that the UCF rule, right? You don't play anybody, you can't get in the dance, you can't play for the national championship.
Yeah.
Sorry about you.
Yeah. and the terminology for, especially if it's from a major conference or at least a decent mid-major conference that gets multiple teams in, if you just get somebody that gets hot and wins 3 or 4 games in a row in the conference tournament, it's called a bid stealer. They basically stole a bid from somebody that was expecting to get in as in that large team.
Oh, there was one team. I wish I could remember who it was now that I was thinking, oh, nope. You know what? It just hit me. That is the ultimate potential bid stealer. In fact, their music department is going to be at my church tomorrow night, ironically enough, and that's Oral Roberts University. How do you have them in the tournament right now?
I've got them projected to win their conference, and they're a 12 seed, and they're a 12 seed that a lot of people could be picking to be the 5.
Yeah, they're hot right now, man. It's ridiculous. They're on a 16-game win streak, 15-game win streak,
yeah,
something
and
that.
If you recall, as a 15 a few years ago, they advanced in the tournament as well, because if you remember, they beat I think it was they beat Ohio State in a 2-15.
Yeah, I think didn't they go to the Sweet 16 that year, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they again they show up. I'm not plugging my church's Wednesday night thing, but if you got youth, they can go to see ORU's like I said, their music department, whatever they're called. But I won't be there. But yeah, that's what it is. But
you're gonna lose your signal.
What that? Yeah, no, I'm going to be at the other part of the church. I'm not going to be in there with all the kids. But yeah, they, we have a lot of alumni in my church that went there. So whenever they were hot like that last time, it was a big thing everybody was talking about. And I know this time, it's this year's their year to go further than they've ever been.
They are a team that can very well advance. Now, like I said, they're projected to win their conference tournament, which I expect them to. If they do that, you should see them as a 12 seed. And we all know the 5-12s produce most upsets around. They're going to be a very trendy pick to beat whatever 5 they go against.
Rightfully so, right? That 5-12 should be the biggest upset producer, right?
It most certainly should, because and there's actually a science behind it. The 12 seed is typically the top mid-major seed.
Right.
Because usually your mid-majors are seeded, or your lower end people are seeded between 12 and 16. So typically your best one is going to be around that 12 range. And then usually what do you end up getting out of a 5 seed? You either get a team that totally overachieved, that was picked to finish like 9th in their conference, but they end up going like, say, like 22-9 or something like that, and or 23-8 or whatever it is, and then they and then they go on a run, and so they're a team that's overachieved, that they're not as good as what their record shows, and so it's easy pickings. Or it's a team that was supposed to be like number 1, and they just floundered around and they pulled it together enough. So it's either an overachiever or underachiever that's a 5 seed. So
Day 1, it is not Richmond.
Yeah, not Richmond, Bobby Dodd University.
Or Bobby Dodd U.
I just looked up Oral Roberts' streak. That's a 16-win streak, also undefeated at home, sort of like the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah. Yep.
Up 15, up 17 with 15 to go, and we couldn't close the deal.
No. And like I said, Bama alum, Bama fan, but things have just not been the same with the team since the Miller incident and the distraction. I mean, still winning games, but I mean, they've been very close. And there's some losses in there, but I just don't. The mojo of it from a team standpoint it hasn't been just right. I mean, they're going to still be a team that's favored to get to the Final Four, but I could really see them being a team that, if they get the wrong matchup in the second round or the Sweet 16, right now it just doesn't feel like a team that's going to advance past that.
Yeah, a buddy of mine told me that they remind him very much of Auburn of last year. Kind of peaking too early, and then
that is a great point. I do feel like they peaked, they basically peaked a month ago.
Yeah.
Well, the beauty is they're not losing yet. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, though, we're at the stage where you can only, flip the coin for wins, and, the loss, and you're done, right? They're going to go out this year, and on paper, right, mm-hmm. when we review this year, we're going to be like, man, I can't believe Alabama lost to that team in the second round. But, we'll have people like Rod to remind us of what was happening to the program as it was going on, the things that were going on around it. But yeah, I don't know, the conference tournament, they may get upset in that one and fizzle out there.
If Mississippi State beats Florida on Thursday, that game on Friday afternoon will be a pesky game for Alabama.
I see both of them being a pesky game for Alabama right now, just to be honest.
And then in the tournament, do you really think Brandon Miller's going to be hot for 6 straight games?
No.
And he was ice cold on Saturday. My goodness.
But see, they're in a spot right now where I just feel like everything's riding on how hot he is. Especially when they're going up against high-level competition. Like I said, I mean, it depends on the second-round matchup for an upset there, but I just don't feel like I feel like the destination will probably end around the Sweet 16.
With like 3 minutes left in the first half, they were shooting 16% from the field against A&M. Insane. And they were only down 12 at the half.
I mean, credit to them. They battled back and got it within the basket.
Yeah. Until your guy passed it directly to the A&M guy.
Yep.
I could not believe that.
But I did say the day before when I had some buddies asking about it. I was like, Bama's not going to win. They're not going to beat Texas A&M. I mean, the SEC was already wrapped up anyway, so I was like, they got nothing to play for. Texas A&M is trying to improve their seed. I didn't see a scenario where I really feel like they were going to win that game.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, why don't we do it just like we did the Super Bowl, week over week? Who's your prediction to win the tournament, Rod?
Are we talking about the conference tournaments right now?
No, the whole thing. We're going to start early right now.
All
This
right,
is
so
going to
obviously
age like milk, just like our Super Bowl predictions.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of it is going to depend on how the brackets fall as far as who's in what region. I mean, Kansas, you probably have to go with, regardless of what bracket they end up in. I think they're pretty safe. Arizona, although they're struggling, depends on the bracket they're in. I think they're a team that can get hot enough. I do believe UConn is going to be in the Final Four. I just think the pieces they have. And then, of course, you'll have that mystery team. And you mentioned something earlier about a team that's really gotten hot here because, I mean, for almost all of the year, their roster was depleted and injured. But all of a sudden, they're starting to slowly get people back together. And that's Kentucky. Sister Jean from Loyola of Chicago on Good Morning America last week actually predicted them to win it. So we'll see how that ages there. No pun intended, Sister Jean. I know she's 103, the oldest author we've ever had, and still a chaplain of Loyola Chicago.
Wow.
So that my four teams right now, I would say, are Kansas, Arizona, UConn, and Kentucky. But this is all subject to change when the brackets come out.
No, one team, Rod. One team. You only get one of them.
Okay, one team. Oh, man. I don't see Kansas going back-to-back. I'm going to say UConn's going to win it.
Dang it. That was going to be my pick. Mm-hmm. All right, Josh, who's your one team?
Wow.
I know it's tough, right?
UConn. Wow. I kind of like UCLA.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like UCLA. I don't know if they'll win the tournament, but I don't know. They just always play so well in the tournament. And you got Tiger and Jaquez. What's his name?
Yeah.
Jaime
Jaquez.
Jaquez, who's really playing well. So I don't know.
They were been a shoe-in for my Final Four, but 2 nights ago, their one of their key players, he's out.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Not like John Morant out, right?
Huh?
Not like John Morant out, right?
No, I think he's done for the season.
No, I'm saying, sorry, that was bad.
But John Morant,
yeah. So he was injured, I guess.
He was injured, yeah.
He didn't do something stupid like that. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. It wasn't self-inflicted.
Oh, shout out to Plexico Burris.
Hey, while we're at it, shout out to Cheddar Bob.
Who's Cheddar Bob?
That's our 8 Mile reference there.
Oh, gotcha.
From the Eminem movie 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Shot himself with his gun.
Yeah, that's right.
Cheddar Bob.
I've actually only seen that movie once, surprisingly enough.
Ah, there you go, Larry. Now it's been like 10 years since I've seen 8 Mile, but yes.
Oh, man.
B-Rabbit.
Yep.
Papa Doc.
So, Drew, who do you have, man?
So nobody's picking Florida Atlantic? Why not? Is that just me? All right.
Lane Kiffin the coach?
Yeah, they've won a lot of games.
Or was he Florida International? Lane Kiffin.
Florida Atlantic's the one that's doing really well right now.
Yeah, I can't remember which college Lane
was
Kiffin
Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic, Rod, or Florida International?
He was at Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Florida Atlantic's actually hot right now. As weird as that is to say,
like 28-3 or something like that.
Yeah, obviously, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. Can we count out Purdue? I was
Uh,
gonna pick UConn. Is who I was gonna pick just to like break
I
your guys'
mean,
brain.
in the spirit of 8 Mile and all the references to the characters there, Purdue is one of my potential Papa Docs. I remember he choked in the finals.
Right.
Not being so. I think Purdue. I really think their ceiling's a Sweet 16 because they're they've got very slow guards that don't create, and we all automatically know that the most important thing in the tournament is having guard
That's
play.
right.
And
Being
so
able to hit the 3 ball, it's not throwing it down to that 7-footer all game.
correct,
That's not going to
correct.
work.
And so I see Purdue going out early.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, UConn was going to be my pick, but like I'm just going based on UConn being hot. I don't think Purdue's as hot right now as UConn is,
No.
but I I always factor the math into it, right? So, like for example, you take a team like we'll give the Oral Roberts example earlier that's on a 16-win streak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can just take all of the facts and the math out of the equation, the actual playing of the ball game, and say they've won 16 games. What are the likelihood that they're going to win their conference tournament, which is going to
Mm-hmm.
be 2-3 more games plus an additional X number of games to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it possible? Absolutely. We've seen it happen millions of times before, but how many times do you flip a coin and it lands on heads? The thing that I like about Purdue going into the tournament is because they have lost. If they learn from those losses, they're in a good place in their conference tournament. They're in a good seed going into the tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Purdue's going to be either a 1 or 2 seed in the tournament.
Right. So they're gonna have favorable matchups. Jeez. Okay, look, I'm done with Gonzaga. Sorry for the listeners that don't get to see the comment section, but yeah, it's the comment was it's still not Gonzaga's year? Question mark. Look, I'm done with Gonzaga. I'm sick of putting them in my Final Four and getting my whole bracket ruined. I'm done with that.
You know what's really crazy about that is it seems to me like, especially like the last 4 years, all of the talking heads on CBS and ESPN, whether it's Seth Davis or any of the Billis or any of them, they pick Gonzaga to win the championship now. Like that's the only thing anybody does.
Because you have to, right? Because if you get it right, you're going to be the guy that got it right.
But
right?
yeah,
and if you get it wrong, it's whatever. It's the opposite of being a kicker in the NFL, right? Having a bracket that's wrong isn't that big of a deal because everybody has a bracket that's wrong. But if you get it right, you're the guy that got it right.
Yeah.
They did play well against Bama day one. They played very well against Bama.
Yeah, they definitely did. Mm-hmm. I see them as probably Sweet 16. I think their ceiling this year is well. I mean, if they get a bad matchup with like a 6 seed, because there'll be a 3, then they could be in some trouble there. But I think their floor is second round. Their ceiling this year is an Elite 8.
Yeah, I'd have to see the brackets to go hard pressed to the Elite 8.
But that's their ceiling, is what I'm saying.
Oh no, I gotcha. Gotcha. I'm gonna wait for that bracket projection before I say for sure where their ceiling is.
Mm-hmm. Who did they lose to when Suggs was there? Remember Suggs hit like the half court shot to beat.
Yeah, the very next game they lost to Baylor in the championship and they were undefeated.
Baylor, that's right.
That was their pop and they were undefeated.
Baylor, that's right.
That was their pop.
Fingers for St. Mary.
Stay with 8 Mile, huh? St. Mary's, yeah, they're St. Mary's and Gonzaga. They play in the stay with 8 Mile, huh? St. Mary's, yeah, they're St. Mary's and Gonzaga. They play in the conference championship game of the tournament tonight.
The thing about St. Mary's for real is going back to my Purdue reference. Gonzaga's on a winning streak. St. Mary's has only won like one. So if they learn from their losses and turn their team around, they're the favorable team to go in this. Because again, probability is on their side.
And that's the craziest thing. Usually the team that wins the championship or they make like a deep run, Final Four on, they kind of got hot maybe a week,
right,
2 weeks before the end of the regular season. Like the year Auburn went to the Final Four, they were just red hot the week before the tournament started, and then they just were a buzzsaw through the SEC tournament.
But I told you that, Rod. I said that at that time because I was like, they've gotten their losses out of the way. They can go into the tournament and get their wins and go from there. And everybody thought I was crazy to say that, if they win the SEC and they share it because they didn't win the tournament, I'm okay with that because they'll get a loss out of the way, right? They'll get those losses out of the way because it is so hard to win like 30 games in a row.
Yes, and it eventually wears you down. Like,
right.
The Kentucky had that super team that went like 38-0, and then they got upset by Wisconsin. It just the weight just builds with it with every win. And then the Kemba Walker team from like 2011 for UConn, like they were on like a losing streak before their conference tournament, and they got hot with him, and they won like 5 games in 5 days there, and then of course they won 6 in a row to win the championship. But you're right about that, Drew. It's typically that team that got hot at the very end of the year. That's why I say a team like Kentucky, if they get everybody healthy, they could go on a run.
I'm not hating Kentucky right now, honestly. I hate Kentucky because they're Kentucky, and I'm not a Kentucky fan. But I'm not hating them in the tournament. I think they do have a good shot. I think you're absolutely right. But they'll wash all those players, and we'll be a new Kentucky team next year, and we'll get to watch them struggle the first half of the season like we always do.
No, rinse, lather, repeat, right?
Right.
Except they may not have their coach, right?
To win it, huh?
Their coach may be wearing burnt orange next year, so
I think he'll probably go one more year at Kentucky next year because they got the number 1 class. A lot could depend on this year, but I don't think we're going to see Cal many more years.
I'm sure that Texas is going to make him the first like $15 million man or something.
It's very possible.
I thought you were talking about prison, honestly. No, just kidding.
Speaking of money, have y'all seen the money being thrown around in the NFL?
Ooh.
A couple days? Ooh. Danny Dimes got paid. Y'all see that?
That contract was interesting. Danny Dimes, for sure. The weird part about it was 100% guaranteed. That was what got me. Was he's on a 100% guarantee. I don't know if you saw that part of it. But, yeah.
Really? I saw it was 4 years, 160. I thought it was only like 82 guaranteed or something like that.
I saw 100%. I could have saw a bad source because I'm looking out there, but even 82% guaranteed is.
You know what? Maybe it was 82 million bonus. Signing bonus. I don't know. 82.
Geno deal.
Yeah,
Geno Smith deal. Yes. I'm not mad at that.
This was a guy that was competing with Drew Lock to be the starting quarterback. And now he makes $30 million a year.
I agree. It's weird. I agree that it's weird. But I'm not. The only way that I eat these words, right, is if he doesn't come out and perform as well as he did last season. Looking at that trade, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world where Russell Wilson ends up being Russell Wilson that we saw last season, and Geno Smith is the Geno Smith that we see this season. I've seen complaints specifically from Roddy White, who turned it a little bit racial on Twitter about how he got a 3-year and all the white quarterbacks got a 4-year. I'm not going to buy into that too much and take that bait. He is a little bit older, right, than everybody else.
Mhm.
But I'm not mad at Geno's contract. I'm really not.
Yeah, but then of course you got the Ravens that are franchise tagging Lamar Jackson.
Well, we knew that was going to happen, right?
Yep.
I mean, they sat on that forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the franchise tag.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different type of franchise tag,
Yeah, he can still shop
which
around.
makes him a restricted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So anybody can sign him, and then the Ravens have to decide if they want to match it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The money component,
Conditional. That's it.
That's it.
yeah, is the weird part. But that expires, right? There's an expiration date sometime before the beginning of the season on the conditional tag, where you're still stuck if nobody gives you any other offers.
But I could see somebody like the Falcons or somebody maybe making a play at him.
Larry said, "Is Tank turning heads at the combine?" I haven't been
Anybody
paying
heard
attention
anything from him?
to the combine other than the 40 speeds
Oh,
and Anthony Richardson jumping out of the building.
Yeah.
I've been engulfed in the combine, engulfed in it. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the most pointless thing in the world, but I love it. I love every minute of the combine.
And of course, them showing Bryce Young being like one of the smallest quarterbacks in the last several years. But the mental level for him, like he's really just like impressing him off the charts, which is what we already knew. But then again, like 5'10", 204, that's a concern about being broken in half.
Did I send y'all the picture of him walking next to a 5'10" tight end?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I gotta find it and send it to you. Like they're walking in to go to meetings for the combine or whatever, and it said, "Here's Bryce Young, and here's a 5'10" tight end next to him," and he had to have been like 3 inches taller than Bryce Young. Yeah, it's like Charles Barkley, right? Charles Barkley was 6'6".
Yeah.
Charles Barkley's like 6'2". It's they just
Man,
make up.
You always inflate all of the numbers there. I mean, I guess plus or minus 3 inches, but Young's like acumen for the game and understanding of defenses is just like unmatched. There's a 5'10" tight end.
Yep. I'll post a picture on our Facebook page so everybody can see it.
You know who has been my favorite story of the combine, and that's Owen Popo from Auburn.
Yeah,
dude, he's fast. He's strong. He's a beast. His draft stock went way up because of the combine, man. I don't care if that guy knows a lick of football. Like he is. I saw the combine results, and he's up there in between like a couple of like corners and a running back or something. It was amazing. There is no reason a man that size should be running a sub 4.5 40. It's crazy.
That's how you secure the bag.
That's right. Shout out to Darius Hayward-Bay and John Ross, right? Yeah. John Ross ran like a 4.27, signed with the Bengals, and I still think he's waiting for his first touchdown. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in the NFL. I know that much.
No, but yes, everybody was just super impressed. I remember that.
Yep.
He's 4.2.
4.27. Yep.
Well, 4.2's, I mean, you don't get better than that, right?
Yeah.
Literally. You don't.
I think Bo Jackson's borderline.
That's borderline like created player.
Right. Papo to the Raiders, I guess. Day one. Yes. Yes. I remember when the Raiders drafted offensive lineman out of Iowa, I think. Last name Gallery, when they could have had Larry Fitzgerald. I'll never forget that. I mean, I didn't know anything about whatever Gallery's name, but I knew Larry Fitzgerald was a stud at Pittsburgh, and I couldn't believe that they didn't take him. But
look, we can talk about all the science about all of this stuff, but honest to God, I think they should just start assigning people to the NFL teams. Like, I really do. Like, it doesn't even make any sense that we hype up the draft and do a combine. We should literally just be like, look, y'all are just all going to practice. This is your NFL team, and they're going to cut y'all and whatever's going to happen. Because in all seriousness, I mean, you look at every pick. I mean, for the love of God, the 49ers went to the freaking NFC Championship with the last pick of the draft. And I'm not talking about the last pick of the draft like 5 years ago that turned out to be like Tom Brady wearing a mustache or something. I'm talking about literally the last pick of the draft ends up in the NFC Championship. And, like, it's just, they try to make it scientific. They try to overthink it. It's not worth it. They could either do, like, I love the combine. I really do. I just like the stats. I just like the competition. I mean, I feel like they should just give out rewards at the combine, honestly. Like, forget the draft. We need to shorten the draft. We need to do all 7 rounds in the time that it takes us to do 1 round. And, like that way they have an excuse when they make a stupid pick like that. And we're all like, why did they do that? We can just be like, oh, because they only had 15 seconds to make that pick. That's
or
why
just
they
pick
did
teams like we do in the like we do on the playground.
Exactly. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Rock, paper, scissors. That's what we're gonna do. And then we're gonna trade them all. It's gonna be awful for cap space. I don't even care. That's just.
Or like a fantasy football draft. It's just auto pick.
Yep.
That's. I'm good. I'm good. You got 6 kickers. Guess
for people
what?
like the Raiders, I mean, that might work out better. The Raiders and Bears.
Or the Browns. I don't know.
Yeah, Browns as well. I mean, auto picks working better for them.
That they always have.
Oh, yeah. Day one said Malcolm Butler. I mean, you can go with Tyreek Hill. You can go with who's the guy that was with the Chiefs that kicked a girl or something and got released and went to the Browns. Stud running back. He and Chubb play together.
Got me. Sony Michel?
No. With the Chiefs, he would like dominate. I think his first game was against the Patriots. He was an undrafted free agent.
Oh man,
he had like 3 touchdowns, 210 yards. Oh man, I can see Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt, thank you. Kareem Hunt. Here's the funny thing. My son wanted to play Madden against me, and we're like, let's do all random. And I ended up with the Browns, and I literally ran the ball every single play because you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, and there is no reason at all you should ever lose a game if you've got them in the backfield. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yep. Steelers' second backup running back is an undrafted free agent, Jaylen Warren, right? So you just never know. I mean, a lot of these guys that get drafted so high, they've already reached their ceiling. And then they're just on their way down. So
I see Eric got Mixon out there. I mean, obviously we know Nerf guns is his kryptonite.
What?
Mixon. You didn't heard this Joe Mixon?
No, the only thing I remember is him beating the heck out of the girl in the crystals or whatever it was.
Like she ended up like having her jaw wired shut for like 3 months after he hit her. I saw that. It was awful. Yeah. No, he recently. I mean, this is just before the Ja Morant incident, but in his neighborhood there was. I guess it was. They say it was like after midnight or whatever. It was some teenage people that were. Having like a Nerf gun fight or something like that, like near his house. And, like he came out with the gun and he fired 11 shots and one of them hit the 13-year-old like in the leg.
Wow. And he was just in the news recently for doing something too, wasn't he?
That was
like
it.
A couple months ago. Didn't he do something like right after a playoff game or something? He got in trouble for something else, and then they cleared him.
Yeah, I mean that's been the story of his career. But no, this just happened here, and so it was just. I mean, like it was a minor gunshot wound, but still, you shot a 13-year-old in the leg that was having a Nerf gun fight outside of your door.
Speaking of guns, a superstar was waving a gun in a nightclub, wasn't he?
Oh, not okay.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Have y'all been keeping up with this Ja Morant story?
50-game suspension.
That's probably going to be it. And things could get worse. They're saying if they found out that he had the gun on the plane, there's some crazy Colorado gun laws or something. Like, this could get really dicey for sure. This will be the most news that Colorado's gotten since Kobe Bryant, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and it's really showcasing the ugly side of social media when
Yeah.
people just aren't really thinking. I mean, you got a $200 million contract out here, your whole life, your whole career ahead of you, your team. I mean, just showing respect and looking hard on social media is just not worth losing everything that you've worked for and everything that your team has worked for. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's stupid. It's just, I mean, any superlative in the negative direction that we can think of right now, it's that. So, I don't know. Is there a chance he's going to try to appeal 50 games or?
I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's bad when Skip Bayless is talking on his show and Shannon Sharp is agreeing with him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's bad. And he's
Oh
saying,
yeah.
it's like, is he a Crip? I mean, is Ja Morant a Crip? He's thrown up Crip gang signs throughout the year in pictures and stuff. Is he a Crip? And as I'm watching, I'm waiting for Shannon Sharp to go ballistic.
Yeah.
And he didn't. So that's extremely concerning because Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp are oil and water, So
yeah, mortal
you
enemies.
agree.
Yeah. But Shannon has voiced his just utter disappointment at Ja for this.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, here you are. You got your first Nike shoe. You got a $30 million a year contract at 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up in a dual parent household. I heard he went to private high school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy was set up for success.
I mean, you got a daughter. You've actually set yourself up for being a role model. Like the craziest thing about it is my daughter's favorite player in the NBA was Ja Morant. So, I mean, everything ahead of you.
Yep.
Comment down below says, when will they start looking for signs of CTE in players causing these kinds of problems? I don't know if it's a head injury or just something wrong with the head, right?
Yeah.
But you have to sit there and question, like, what the heck is your priority, and how is it making any logical sense at all whatsoever? It's just it is crazy, right? And that's the problem, is that it's legitimately crazy. And that's not the medical term, but that's what it is, right? It is crazy, and people like that do need some help. And it's troubling to me that they're not getting it necessarily.
Well,
But whether it is CTE or any other relevant, medical diagnosis out there, because you literally, yeah, I was not mentioning that name. I wasn't mentioning that name. I didn't say it. I didn't say that name.
But I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, outside of the medical situation with just the medical term and the things that have happened with CTE, I feel like on a figurative level, there's a huge CTE with respect to accountability out of young people as well as these athletes right now. And I think that's really the crux of the matter is, at no point is anybody feel like, particularly these younger athletes, that they should ever be held accountable. I mean, we see it in schools now with kids, and I mean, kids are never held accountable for what they do or don't do, whether it's by the parents, whether it's by the schools, whether it's by the teachers, whether it's by the coaches. And so that just permeates itself. And so you develop this I'm above any of this, and I can do whatever I want to do, and there's no repercussions for me because I've never been actually held accountable for anything. And so, and this is what eventually happens. I mean, at some point, there's got to be somebody that can look beyond Ja, You've got a $200 million contract. You're the most awesome thing in the world. You're the greatest dunker we've ever seen. Your team is awesome. You got a chance to win. Like, at some point, somebody's got to be able to pull him to the side and say, dude, you're blowing this. Or, dude, you don't need to be involved in any of this. But, I mean, there can't be somebody in his life that was willing to speak to him like that for him to feel like he was okay to do this.
Well, you know what the problem is, don't you, Rod?
Yeah.
The problem is they're fat little girlfriends. We tell them what they need to work on, and then they go to their fat little girlfriends, and their fat little girlfriends tell them everything they want them to hear. They tell them that they're the greatest and that they don't need to listen to their coaches. So if it's somebody that we could trace it down to, it's going to be the fat little girlfriends. Does anybody know that quote?
Trivia for next week.
Come on, guys.
I've heard that before.
It's been on the show before. I have literally quoted the man that said it.
Oh, wow.
I believe that might have been episode number 1.
Oh.
Are we trying not to name drop? But I'll tell you, Rod, you mentioned accountability. No. As I was watching the UFC fights this past weekend, and then watching what Dana White had to say about Jon Jones, I said to myself, why is Dana White on my TV right now? Because in 2014, Dana White said, if you hit a woman, you can never come back from that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Dana White hadn't even
good. Missed, that was a great point, Josh.
He hadn't even missed between 283 and 285. You know, like he has missed no time at all.
Nope.
And nothing was ever said again from that New Year's Eve domestic dispute.
Look, here's the thing about Dana White. Dana White's a complete, total piece of crap. What comes out of his mouth is not what is actually representative of that man. The reason why I say that is because way back early on UFC stuff, they decided we're going to have a fight between Joe Rogan and Dana White, right? Like that's going to happen. We're going to have this Dana White, Joe Rogan fight. And he got, he's like, all right, I'm all for it. And then Joe Rogan took it seriously, right? And that fight's never happened. Dana White backed out of it. So after that point, whenever you say I'm going to throw down and then you back out of it, nope, I got nothing for you. You're a turd. That's what you are. And he's a turd, and he always has been a turd, and he always will be a turd. I enjoy his programming, but he's still a turd.
Yep. I would agree with that. Like the one that won't flush type.
All right.
Is that Ray Rice?
Huntington Beach bad boy? No. God, who was that? I forget what his real name was. He's a UFC fighter. Huntington Beach bad boy. Jeez Louise.
Oh, God.
He fought against Chuck Liddell that time frame.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's before my time.
Yeah. That was pre UFC 100. We were still in the double digits back in those days, and I don't remember who that was, but yeah, that was the thing. But you also have to understand what was happening in the UFC at that time. The UFC almost didn't exist.
Yep.
During that time frame, because John McCain, again, he was pushing, for them to sorry, can't remember him.
Oh, Larry.
You'll have to give it to us. But yeah, so John McCain had declared war against the UFC, and they had started getting sanctioned and things like that, and so it started coming back. So anything bad that happened, they were making those guys disappear. In fact, they went as far, going back to the whole CTE thing. If you lost more than 50% of your fights, you were out of the UFC. Not because you weren't a draw, because there were big names that were still draws, like Tank Abbott, Tito Ortiz. Thank you. That was the Huntington Beach bad boy. But not because you were a draw, but because we were afraid of what we were doing to your brain, letting you take all those hits. So they let you out of your UFC contract after you drop below 50%. So yeah, it was an interesting time for sure back then. And now rules are, they're just kind of whatever. Like you had Chael Sonnen, which actually fought Jon Jones. several years ago. He was in all kinds of trouble. Still is in all kinds of trouble. Cool guy, excellent person to watch, excellent human to watch on TV. Any interview with Chael Sonnen is going to be magical. But yeah, but I mean, John Jones is the best in the world, though. So you know, you got to promote those fights, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I picked him to win that, but I was like, 3 years out of the game, this is going to be a tough fight for him. And I think by the time I finished saying him, I think the fight was over.
Yeah.
That was insane. And I really don't even think either one of them threw a punch.
It was a
Jones
2-minute
got him
fight.
down. Oh no, he punched him once he was on the ground a little bit, but
yeah,
then he just choked him out, and that was it. But the best fight of the night was the girls before that. I don't know if y'all saw that. Valentina was the champion, and she lost to a Mexican fighter. I can't remember her name, Alexa Graffo or something like that, and beat her by submission. And interestingly enough, yeah, interestingly enough, y'all know that I follow a lot of bets and stuff, you know, on different pages, and there was a bet on Saturday night, $1. And that $1 turned into $400,000.
Wow.
Based on all of these things happening. John Jones winning by submission, such and such happening by submission in the first round, such and such happening by submission in the fourth round.
Wow.
I mean, all of these things just insane. But hey,
did y'all see the EFC? Not to be confused with the UFC, but the EFC strawweight women's title was on the line. A lady that was famous on TikTok won it. Alice Ardeline, I believe is how you say her last name. I actually made a post on the Culture of Splife page in regards to that, in hopes that we'd get some traction there. That was a pretty proud moment. She destroyed that girl that she was fighting against. Poor girl, they had to stitch her up before they would interview her and show her on TV. She was beaten up real bad. Ardeline came in with a punch that flew into an elbow and just gashed right up there. And I saw her after the fight and was like, man, to win that fight, that was pretty rough. But then I realized that everything on her was not hers. It was who she was fighting against. And I'm like, ooh, this was some straight up Stone Cold Steve Austin in the stunner kind of stuff coming out here. I'm not saying the word that it is, but y'all know what happens when you get cut, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like she was messed up pretty bad. So it is always a breath of fresh air, though. Women's post-fight interviews, I will always love it over the guys' post-fight interviews. Because she was like, you know, yeah, I didn't use my elbows a lot the first time. You know, then I went in for a couple of elbows, you know, and I saw what it did to her. I wish her a speedy recovery. And I'm like, you literally just did that 30 seconds ago and you're praying for a speedy recovery for your opponent? That's got to be the most passive-aggressive, awesome thing I've ever seen in my life.
Hey, Larry, you said that the UFC is looking for their next face. I don't know if you saw the fights, but there's this guy, Bo Nickel. It was his first UFC fight. I actually watched him in the Dana White Contender Series, and he completely dominated. And so he got a contract, and he was actually on the pay-per-view card for his first fight, and he submitted the guy in the first round. So there's that guy. Then there's another guy he was 17 during Dana White Contender Series, and now he's 18. And he beat a 27-year-old in his first fight a couple months ago. I mean, just completely dominated him. Like, I know there's one guy named the Tarantula, right? But I mean, this guy was just like hanging all over. Like he couldn't get away. And then he ended up getting choked out. So, yeah, there's going to be some good fighters in the UFC in the upcoming years. You needn't worry.
So what do you think about a submission win? How do you feel watching that fight whenever you get a submission win?
It's interesting that you asked that, because I thought the same thing, because Joe Rogan was saying, oh, you know, this has the potential to be the fight of the night, or the move of the night, or whatever it's called. And I was just like, I would think like a knockout would be bigger, but you have to be so technically strong and so, just brilliant on the mat to be able to do the things that, triangles and rear naked chokes and all that stuff. When these guys know to like keep their chin down, and so it takes a lot of strategy to be able to get to the point where you can get someone to submit.
Yeah. So Drew, I got one for you here. I mean, we've been talking about the next phases of UFC. What's the over and under on when we get one of these UFC guys to become one of the stars in the WWE? Because I know you had that Stone Cold illusion earlier.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody right now in the UFC is going to be making their way to the WWE anytime soon. Um, because anybody noteworthy, I should say that, noteworthy people in the UFC currently. Because the big name right now, I'd have to say, is going to be John Jones for sure, and he is learning from his days of fighting Chael Sonnen in the light heavyweight division. He's very adamantly against the whole character thing, right? Because even some of these UFC guys, they get into character, right? And Chael Sonnen, that's what he's known for, is being, the character Chael Sonnen, right? So I don't know. To me, it seems like you've got, and it's crazy that I'm calling the youngest ever light heavyweight champion one of the old guys, right? One of the old guys now. To me, it's a big gap between the old guys like John Jones and the new people. Give it 6 months though, and I may be singing a different story. I really might be, but I don't see anybody right now that would leave UFC for the WWE.
Yeah, you don't see any Ronda Rouseys or Brock Lesnar's or any of those type of guys. Yeah.
No, because you have to be a little larger than life, so to speak.
Right.
And I've always said this about, like, Brock Lesnar was unique in the sense that Brock Lesnar's the alpha male of our species, right? There is not anybody out there that is going to go toe to toe with Brock Lesnar. And I would even say John Jones wouldn't want to go toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar. Not saying John Jones wouldn't win in a fight. I'm just saying he doesn't want to do it, right? He would do it, but he doesn't want to do it. Anybody that's having to lose weight to make 265 pounds is kind of a beast, which is why he's called the Beast, right? And Ronda Rousey was even bigger than life because she had that undefeated streak for so many years. She went on, was just notorious for just getting people in the armbar, winning in like 7 seconds. It was crazy. So yeah, I just don't see anybody like that right now. Again, I could be singing a different song. But the good fights nowadays are the lighter divisions, and you do have to be a little bit heavier to be in WWE. So that could be it.
Yeah, he just made the CM Punk illusion there, Larry.
CM Punk is a dumpster fire. He wasn't a good wrestler. I'll go ahead and say that. He wasn't a good wrestler. He was famous because he literally didn't want to stick to the script and happened to be the champion when he was a wrestler. And that's why he got famous and people liked him because, they bought into the whole, like, he's the good guy and the WWE's the bad guy aspect, which is like a perfect wrestling line. Then he went on to have the amazing mixed martial arts career that he had. And that's sarcasm if y'all didn't know, because I don't think he ever won a match. And then he went to
ever go more than a round?
Right. It was terrible. I don't understand what the hype was about him, given I stopped watching wrestling sometime in high school and picked up when I had kids. So there was years that maybe I just don't get it because I didn't see him in WWE, but he wasn't good. I've never seen anything that was noteworthy. I don't know why he's as popular as he is. He's basically like the Kardashian of the sports entertainment world. Like, we just all know who he is and he's famous and nobody knows why.
Yeah. And I mean, and it took him to create the same dumpster fire or problems that he had that subsequently caused him to leave the WWE. He was able to do that in less than a year with AEW. So,
Right, right, and potentially ultimately cost them Cody Rhodes too. I don't know
mm,
what made him leave, but I would have to think it would be something like dumpster fires like that in the locker room.
yep.
Because he was
That's
anti-establishment.
correct.
Yeah, and I don't disagree that that's not the reason that he was such a big name, but it's like that's a storyline, you know? Like
He
wrestling's not
manufactured
real.
the anti-establishment to keep himself going.
Right. At the end of the day though, that's a character. Wrestling's not real. It kind of makes me want to like come on this podcast and be a character, right? And not be myself. Because if you guys had me as a character, it could be me versus you guys and people will be engaged then. And then next thing people will be like, I hate Drew Tolbert. He's just like that Skip Bayless guy, right? Like do we need that? Is that what's a requirement for us to be good?
And the sad thing about it is reality TV is fed into that type of thing from a character standpoint because every time everybody's sitting up and they're watching these different reality shows, or they're just not realizing the producers have manufactured about at least 80 to 85% of any of the conflict that you see on there.
Well, I mean, you guys know me. I had that same thing. The casting director reached out to me for reality TV, and I start my interview literally within 2 seconds. It stopped me. No, 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 no. You're not that person. We want to know about this person. Like
Yep.
that's how my interview started out. It's like I don't give a crap. I get it. You have a 9 to 5 job, but that's not what we're interested in. We want you in this character.
Yep.
Now go. I'm going to ask you the questions again, and it's like, it's like that was 2 seconds. I thought you just wanted to get to know me, right? Right. I thought this was an interview. No, it's not like a job interview. We want you in character. Go do your
Yep.
thing. Do your thing. We want that guy that got 1.2 million views on a TikTok about a story, that you were telling your son. We want that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Be that guy. Okay, I can be that guy.
Yo,
Of course,
this
I didn't
wrestling
get it.
stuff, it just cracks me up. Day One and I were enjoying a beer a couple weeks ago, and there was literally a group of people behind us that were watching wrestling and like all in it. And, we had like little small talk going back and forth, whatever. But when the interviews were happening, they were just all looking up. I mean, like grown adults. And I guess that's what y'all are that get all into this, but it just cracks me up, man. I just think of this as like, for like teenagers and stuff. And I guess maybe once I found out, or once it was finally admitted that it was fake, I was like, I'm done. Because I grew up in like the Ultimate Warrior days,
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, yeah.
Hammer Valentine, Bret the Hitman Hart,
Mhm.
where it was like legit, but I don't know. Once I found out it was fake, it hurt. It's like, why should I waste my time watching this?
Well,
Well,
the thing
because you
about
watch Marvel, that's not real.
well, I was
You
about to
do
say,
know
yeah,
when Thanos snapped, 50% of people didn't actually like go anywhere, right?
Man, I sleep through all those. I don't even know what you're talking about.
well, I was gonna say that
My kids love them, and I sleep.
reality TV that we see today, they took their page from professional wrestling, basically.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've got to face, you've got to heal, you've got to create the conflict. You've got, like you just said, that they ask you to be a character that's larger than life and continue to manufacture this controversy. I mean, that's exactly. I mean, that's what everybody's watching now. I mean, when you got these cameras inside of these people's homes, that's not really how it is.
Right. That's true.
No, because think about on this
Entertainment.
podcast, we're shooting it live, and typically this part right here is unedited, and there will be those ums and uhs and giving us time to think about what we're about to say. Like I'm going to interrupt you, but I don't quite have what the words are that's going to come out of my mouth, so I've got to go and I say something. You don't have any of that in reality TV, right? There's zero of that. It's all edited out, right? And that should be your first clue that this is scripted. It's fake, right? We're editing this stuff. There's not the uhs and the ums. There's not the person accidentally farting, right? Because that happens in real life. I mean, look, I'm in a household of boys, right? If you had a camera in my house 24/7, about 14 of that 7 or 14 of that 24, rather, you're going to catch a fart. And you've never heard that on reality TV, not once. I mean, those Duck Dynasty guys, you're going to tell me that you got 5 overweight dudes wearing that camouflage, eating snacks in their duck blinds, and not a soul farted.
And nobody's letting anything fly.
Nothing. Like, that's the fakest thing ever. Fakest. It's got to be fake.
Yeah, or your housewives, and you've got people like, I hate you. You're my mortal enemy. I just threw glass at you. Hey, let's go to the Jamaica like next week. Yeah, like that wasn't planned.
Right. Right. Just like in wrestling, used to back in Josh's day, the heels and the faces didn't get to travel together. Now we got TikTok. We know that the heel and the face are shooting their dance videos in the locker room together. It's the same place. There's not a good guy locker room and a bad guy locker room like they told us in the 80s there was.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's the same thing. Now what gets interesting about that though now is the fact that you don't have those same lines, because even my wife, her favorite wrestler, my wife had this girl, it's this wrestler named Rhea Ripley. She comes out by herself. Everybody cheers, gets excited. She, beats the girl or whatever. Everybody's all pumped up. Then she leaves. She comes out with her faction, which are heels. They come out. Everybody's booing. And she's like, how can they boo somebody? And it's like, because we know who that girl is. We know her because we see her on social media. We know what she looks like. And she's hot, not to mention, which is why everybody likes her. But when she's with that faction, we know she's a bad guy, right? So it's, it does kind of become interesting now that we live in this world where we have social media up 24/7 and know everything about everybody.
So, yeah, it's hard to maintain or stay in character.
It kind of makes you wonder what's real, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know what is real. These answers to Uncle Joe's trivia.
Let's hear them.
Y'all
Let's
ready?
do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So the first question was, Pistol Pete Maravich holds the record for the most points in NCAA history with 3,667. And how many games did he do that in? And that answer is 83 games.
That's just absurd.
83 games. So Antoine Davis, not the Indiana Pacers, Antoine Davis. Oh, that was Antonio Davis. That's right, Antonio Davis. He had 3 points less in 144 games.
And I think one of the things for all of our listeners to understand why, well, for one, 61 less games is very significant. But you got to think about this part of it, too. They did not have the 3-point shot when he did it in 83 games. Can you imagine what that record would look like if they had 3-pointers for Pistol Pete Maravich?
Right.
We're not even having any conversation about anybody ever breaking it.
Right. I mean, that's sort of the same thing with LeBron and Kareem, right? Kareem obviously wasn't a 3-point shooter. We know he had one career 3-point field goal in his career, and look how many points he was able to score.
Yeah.
And same with Pistol Pete. It's amazing. It is amazing. What was the stat I was telling y'all pregame? That if you took the highest
score
for the last 83 games,
yep,
they'd still have like 300 points less than Pistol Pete did or something like that.
Yeah, which is just absurd. And,
it was 83 games.
Yeah.
For 83 games.
For 83 games. That's right. That's exactly right. All right. So the question that got the most feedback on the chat was there's been one 16 seed that beat a 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Who was that? And that would be no other than, I don't even know what their mascot is, but that is
They're Terriers.
Terriers. Okay. So that would be UMBC,
Yes.
which I had to look up to find out what the C stood for because I had already used
County.
university at the front, so it couldn't be college. So that is University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Correct.
Yes. So they beat Virginia.
In 2018.
So, if this were Upward Basketball, Eric, you'd be getting the $25 gift card. But it'll be available for next week.
And that's what we were making the allusion to earlier is that game was like the Friday game in the first round. And that Wednesday, I was speaking with Drew and I said, this is not your usual 16 seed. And Virginia is going to be in some trouble this game.
Yeah, I think your actual you called it. You said that this 16 seed really should have been an 8 seed. I believe is what you had said.
Yeah.
That they're skilled more like an 8 seed, and it's like, okay, all right. And then it happened, and like I said, I don't even think I ran to you first. I'm pretty sure I ran to Josh first, because we were at work when it happened, and the three of us all worked together at that time. And I'm pretty sure I ran to Josh and was like, man, Rod actually said it. Like, he said that was going to be the thing, like, to look out for him. So,
and they beat them by
one player. We can't name one player from that squad.
Nope.
Couldn't come up with one.
I can't even.
What did Larry say here? Now, what I mentioned last week, you're telling me they couldn't have given Cadillac a contract. You'd have to step down, but could stay on the team. I mean, Cadillac actually, he did pretty well in his deal. I have a strong belief that Hugh Freeze was told to get this money, you have to keep Cadillac. But that's just my thought, from the talking heads that are the Auburn beat writers. I know that there was talk about Lane Kiffin wanting to bring his own coaching carousel or whatever coaching group. And I unfortunately think the only reason why Cadillac is there is because Auburn made Hugh Freeze keep him. Hugh, if you're listening, call me wrong. I want to hear your thoughts. I hope that's not the case because Cadillac did an unbelievable job. And part of me was thinking, let's give him a shot. We can't be any worse than we were with that guy that remains nameless, Brian Harsin, who was so good on the blue field, but we saw how that translated.
He wasn't good on the blue field. See, this is the problem, okay?
Yep.
All right, you're getting me started. I've said it a million times. It's not about the man's record. It's about the man that was before the man. Okay, and here's why I say that. Okay, you've got Gus Malzahn, looked real good on paper. Who's always the man before Gus Malzahn? Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is always the man before Gus Malzahn. All right, you had Brian Harsin, who looked good on paper, but who's the man before Brian Harsin?
The guy that beat Oklahoma.
And Hugh Freeze, and who was the other one?
The guy that beat Oklahoma.
What's his name? Peterson, right?
Peterson, yeah.
Yep.
Chris Peterson.
But seriously, Arkansas State, 3 coaches: Hugh Freeze, Gus Malzahn, Brian Harsin. Brian Harsin leaves, goes to Boise, but it's because Boise's coach left and went to Washington. It was and it's one of those things where it's like. Like we can talk about Les Miles in his 10 years, but you don't have Les Miles if you didn't have Nick Saban. I have proof of that.
Right.
You know the proof? It's called Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that most people don't even look at. If you even look at what Harsin did with Boise State, they were still obviously high up there, but they progressively got worse each year. They were not
Okay,
like undefeated
right.
and in the BCS Bowl or in the national championship or playoff conversation. So that's how I always call it the Larry Coker syndrome because it's like Larry Coker wins his first 24 games at Miami, but people don't understand that was Butch Davis.
Right.
Dennis Erickson at Miami doesn't happen unless Jimmy Johnson stacks like four years of classes, for him. And of course, they progressively got worse. So, it's the same thing with the Harsin. Like you just said, Arkansas State I didn't even think about that, which was perfect there, Drew, and of course Boise State. You see it.
I've seen the comment down here. I've never seen so much love for Auburn when Cadillac took over. So much fan love that is from Auburn. The Cadillac Williams. I don't know. I'm with Josh. I don't know if he was the right answer to take over the program or not. Speculation. Period. Right. I truly don't know. What I do know though is that Cadillac Williams was essentially the relationship that you get into after you're in an abusive relationship, right? Mm-hmm. You have that relationship that's bad and you're like, I'm swearing it off. I'm going to just be a cat man or cat woman, right? I'm just going to have my pets and never be in a relationship again. And then you finally meet that person and they're not exactly what you're looking for, but they love you. And you're like, oh yeah, this is what love's like. Okay. Unfortunately we didn't love him the way that we loved a supermodel. And so we went the supermodel approach and saw a shiny object and took it, and we'll see how that goes. But luckily, we can spend money now. That should keep Hugh Freeze from getting into too much trouble. So
Cadillac was Auburn's like Joe Clark from Lean on Me.
Right.
That's the illustration I get from him.
I think the reason why everybody was so high on the Cadillac bandwagon is because you went from a guy, Brian Harsin, who never smiled on the sideline the entire time he was there, and then brought in Cadillac Williams, who was nothing but energy. Swinging the towel, getting in the players' faces, getting the crowd.
He was a consummate hype man.
What's that?
He was a consummate hype man.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But like he was the girl you took home at last call and then woke up and then she actually made you breakfast, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, this is good stuff. Again, it didn't have to be great, right? We still had how many games did he coach? 3?
He got fired after the Arkansas game, right?
Yeah,
so we had what?
4,
Texas A&M, a cupcake, in Alabama?
Mississippi State was the first.
State, yeah.
That was the first game.
You're right.
Lost to Mississippi State after coming back from down like 20 or something.
Yeah, so we went 500, and it's like all of a sudden we're excited about life again. It's like, 500, yes, it's great. No, those were games we were supposed to win. Like, we weren't supposed to lose to Mississippi State. But, the coach from Mississippi State at that time, he had his players focused and honed in and ignoring their fat little girlfriends.
Who was it?
Yes, that's right. It was Mike Leach.
Mike Leach. We should have known that.
Yeah, I said it the first episode.
Show. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yep. Hey, Larry, I think one of the big reasons why Auburn hired Hugh Freeze was because Hugh Freeze has been able to beat Alabama.
Oh, absolutely.
That was all
and that's the reason this is one thing I hate about the talking heads. I've seen the Nick Saban comment about the fact that there's going to be 3 static teams that you play every year, right? And the 3 that Alabama are going to get are going to be LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn. And then he complained about it, right? It was, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm Nick Saban. I don't care. I hate you all. And everybody's been talking about that. Tennessee and LSU are not Nick Saban's bane of his existence. He was mad that he has to play Auburn every year. That's what he was mad about. because the only team that has ever beat him more than like once is Auburn. And the only team that has a coach right now that he will have to play that's beat him more than once is Auburn. So
I mean, as a diehard Alabama football fan, anytime Auburn has a pulse, they are a major problem on the Plains in the Iron Bowl.
not so
Or in
fast there, Chief.
2010 at Bryant Denny.
Yeah,
I was going to say, not so fast there, Chief. Do you realize what Auburn's record is at Bryant Denny? Look, the only reason y'all got more Iron Bowl wins than we do is because we actually played in Birmingham.
No,
I'm throwing that out there.
I'm just speaking within the Saban era. That
Right.
anytime you guys have a pulse, that's a very, very difficult game for Alabama to win on the road. And in fact, I mean, more often than not, you guys have won that game when you've had a pulse. And when I say a pulse, like a legitimate, if you're a top 15 team, historically speaking, outside of maybe like one time, that's been like a loss.
I don't know of a game where we were favored to win that we lost in my lifetime, like ever. I could be wrong on that one, but I'm just saying, like I don't know
in Auburn, right?
Outside of Birmingham.
The Andrew Zhao and Tyler Watts quarterback controversy year, I think it was the 2001 season where you guys were favored and Auburn and Bama won like 31-7 there.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
But otherwise, like I said here, and especially like right now in the Saban era, anytime you guys have had a legitimate team and it's been the Iron Bowl has been in Jordan-Hare, it's usually been a loss.
Remember that y'all were like a 14-point favorite. I think that was McElroy and Julio. We scored a touchdown, onside kick, touchdown, up 14 quickly. And then 4th and 10, caught Julio over the middle, kept the drive going. And then Upchurch had like a little option.
Yeah, the 26-21, the 2009 game.
2009, yeah. And that was a national championship year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Texas, wasn't it?
Yep, that was Texas.
Thank God for Alabama kickers is the comment down here.
Yeah. And then, of course, the kick six was 2013.
2013.
There. And then, you guys had a string of being really, really bad. Then 2017 was the next time when they were both top 10 teams. And, of course, you guys won that game and then just decided to lose to everybody else after that. Yeah. That was a Central Florida year.
Yep. I was at that Iron Bowl. That's the only Iron Bowl I've ever been to. That was unbelievable. And I remember a bunch of Auburn fans were like, we need to get Jalen Hurts out of the game. And I was like, no, you don't want Jalen Hurts out of the game.
No.
Then you'll see Tua, and you don't want Tua.
No.
And then, of course, Tua did what Tua did in the national championship. So
yes.
4th and 20, or 2nd and 22, right?
2nd and 26.
26. Devontae Smith.
Yes. That was beautiful.
Come on, Larry. I'm still depressed over that. I was at that game. Oh, if that guy just stays home on that fake punt, we're winning 28-10 going into the half. Or I'm sorry, 28-3. And instead we're winning 21-10. Which quarterback are you excited about, Larry?
Yeah, we have like 27 of them.
Robbie Holden.
Robbie Ashford.
I can't imagine that he's excited about Robbie. I haven't seen enough of Holden Grenier. I know he's a 4-star.
Well, it may be kind of an interesting thing to see what Robbie looks like with somebody that can fit a system from a quarterback standpoint, like Freeze.
Well, and what's his name came back too from LSU. The guy that should have beat Alabama in the 2021 Iron Bowl. that Drew saw throw the touchdown against Georgia Southern or whoever that was.
Yes,
when
sir.
Bo
I
Nix
was
got
there.
benched.
That
It wasn't
night
Georgia
there.
Southern, but Georgia State.
I know the
Yeah,
Georgia State, correct.
Finley.
Yeah, Ryan Finley.
Yeah, Finley's back on the roster.
TJ
Yeah,
Finley.
me and you were texting while I was at that game.
Yep.
That was a nightmare. Everybody was texting me because, like, everybody knew I was at that game because my wife had posted on Facebook. I had my brothers that were texting me. I had, like, my sister-in-law's texting me. Everybody's just blowing my phone up because, you know, like, they know I'm at the game, and that game was atrocious. Now, that was a dumpster fire.
And
that
then
was the downfall.
Then the next week, Bo Nix goes to LSU and puts on a performance that we haven't seen by an Auburn quarterback since probably Nick Marshall.
Right.
And beats Baton Rouge for the first time in wins in Baton Rouge since 97, I think, something like that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Robbie Ashford does have he's got good competitive drive. So it'll be interesting to see. I do wonder what can a coach like Hugh Freeze do for him. So
Larry, I was at the LSU game this year when Robbie came out looking like a Pro Bowler. That was insane. Threw those 2 deep balls for touchdowns. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in Jordan Hare. And then, of course, Brian
he actually did a great job in Bryant Denny.
What's that?
He actually did a great job in Bryant Denny in the Iron Bowl.
He did.
Yeah. Shout out to the punt returner who didn't touch the ball, and the ref said he did, right?
That's so stupid. I'm so sick of like crappy replay. Like when it's on replay and you still don't have, we don't have a definitive angle. Look, you've got 9 million phones in that stadium at any given moment. Get on Twitter. They're going to tell you what the actual result was. It took them 3 minutes to figure it out. You're not going to tell me that you've not got 17,000 angles on Twitter? Get on Twitter. I don't care about
you're right. Instead of focusing in on like how can we keep the clock running for incomplete passes to get the game to move up, how about we just figure out like how many referees does it take to see a replay for 9 minutes that it should have took you 9 seconds to figure out? I mean, that's
22.
where your game is being lost in terms of time.
Instead, you have bootleg video going viral with the answer, you know? You can't have it for the multi-billion-dollar business that is college football.
I've got the answer. Look, you've got fans all in the stadium, okay? You're telling me you can't pay some dude to sit through a class and earn his referee degree or whatever and pay him $40,000 a year to watch one player on the football field, right? You're gonna get a good seat. You're gonna have a little pair of binoculars there, and we're gonna hire 22 of you fools, and y'all are gonna be assigned 1 player apiece, and you're gonna call every freaking penalty you see. You're gonna call everything, and then it's all gonna end. We're not gonna have any more bad calls anymore because they're gonna be like, we're never gonna be able to play another game of football because it's gonna be insane. And it's going to be ridiculous. And then we'll have football players that actually play by the freaking rules and not try to get away with crap. That's what's going to happen.
But the game will be 9 hours long, Drew.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna either have to endure a 9-hour game or I'm going to have to endure 9 hours of Sports Center coverage from the stupid calls that are made. One or the other, right? What's it going to take? Again, you can pay a guy. It's not about money. You can give him $40,000. Any guy, I'll sign up. I'll give up my Sunday or my Saturday from now on and watch a game live in a stadium with a pair of binoculars and watch one defensive tackle every single play of the game, if that's what it takes.
Larry said start using cards like soccer.
Oh, I like that methodology. I do.
Passing out the yellow cards.
That's it.
Pass out the yellow cards, then 2 of them you get a red card. You don't get to play anymore. The thing about soccer is though you don't get to replace the position. so you get red cards. You end up out there with 6 men on the field playing the rest of the football game. It'll go quick, but buddy, will there be some high scores?
Some teams will be without the offensive line like after the first quarter.
Right.
Oh, Larry,
Yes.
no doubt.
Oh gosh, targeting's a nightmare. I don't even know what to do with it.
It's
On
a
the one
joke.
hand, I want to end all the head injuries, but on the other hand, I want to watch football and not, you know, oh, we got a flag because somebody they lowered their head at a 45-degree angle, but this person did it at a 55-degree angle, and then a gnat farted in Taiwan and it caused the earth to shake, and so it hit his shoulder pad instead of the crown of the helmet. And in this year, the rule is that if you hit the shoulder pad before you hit the face mask and then the face mask afterwards, it's targeting, but you're not ejected from the game. You have to stand on one foot and bounce up and down. And then after that, the penalty is wiped out and it's only 3 yards instead of 15. That's what I feel like targeting is every season.
And then a
They
lot of
change
it
the rules.
is they'll just throw a flag because he got hit really hard, and then we've got to waste 10 minutes for them to look at the fact that it wasn't a target to begin with. It was just a guy that decided that he was going to play football and tackle him or hit him really hard, and so that's targeting.
Targeting reminds me of the taunting penalty. Do y'all remember the taunting penalty? The LSU
Yep.
kicker or punter that ran it and got in trouble for taunting?
Brad Wing.
Yeah.
Yes, Brad Wing.
And then they're like, okay, so maybe, yeah, this is a stupid idea. That's what targeting is, except for we go through that same stupid idea every single season.
Mhm.
It's like, at first it was, oh, this is a stupid idea because, like, we can review the penalty, but we can't take away the 15 yards. The person just gets to stay in the game. And now it's, well, we can take away the 15 yards and say that it wasn't a target at all, and everybody still gets to play. Or we can review, it's just going to be something different next year. Like, that's what it's going to be.
Throwing a guy out of the game for a targeting hit was just such an overreach to begin with.
Well, the one that drives me crazy is the landing on the quarterback in the NFL. I mean, literally, you sack a quarterback, you have to come up like this and avoid landing on them, or else they call roughing the passer. It's the most idiotic new rule I've ever seen. I saw the stud from Ohio State at the Chargers. Who is that against? It was a Sunday night game, and he sacked. Oh, it was Tua.
It was Bosa.
It was Tua. Yeah, Bosa. Bosa sacked Tua, and he threw his hands out like this as he was going down on Tua to try to not land on him, and he got hit with targeting or with unnecessary roughness or whatever, late hit. And I don't understand.
What?
I mean, heck, the Bucs lost in Tampa to Atlanta because they said Grady Jackson, I think that's his name, hit Brady too hard or something, landed on him.
You know what I would do if I was a quarterback? And Joe Burrow is going to be the one that does this, and it's going to make everybody mad. Okay, because Joe Burrow has no offensive line. It's never going to change. He's never going to get one because we know he can take a hit now. What I would do, this is just me, because I can hold on to a guy. I got the ball. I can hold on to you. It doesn't matter. I grab any part of your body that I want to grab. You're coming at me. Guess what? I'm about to pull a 300-pound man down on top of me. And you might say, well, that's a stupid idea. It's 15 yards every time I do it. First down. Heck yeah. I see a guy running at me. I'm going to give up. I'm going to grab his jersey because he's not got good balance. He's a 350-pound man running like a 4.5 40. I can pull him. I can throw myself underneath him. It's not going to be hard. You might say, this is outlandish. You can't. Yes, you can do that because he's probably got a defensive tackle on his back anyway. I'm just going to grab it, place myself under him. Done. Penalty. He landed on me. Penalty every time. And then the rule will get changed. That's going to be what happens. Just like Jalen Hurts getting pushed. Can't get pushed anymore. We're changing that rule because Jalen Hurts did it. That's all you're going to have to do is grab onto that defender, make sure he falls with you.
And you're right, Larry, in the comments I saw you talked about finding referees. I just don't think there's any real accountability here now. Like, how is it that people are getting fined for criticizing a referee? You're actually a part of the game just as much as the players and the coaches who are openly criticized for the things that they don't do. So I'm just saying that at the level that we're in the professional sports, there should be accountability there with respect to that. I mean, if you're a professional, you didn't make the right calls, and it's happening time and time again. There has to be some kind of mechanism that you can be held accountable for that, just so this just doesn't continue to happen. You can't be protected for not doing your job.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch any XFL games at all. I just haven't been able to get into it. But there's some kind of rule. I think it's like the Dean Balladino guy, like the head of referees that's normally on there doing the analyzing during the NFL games, like Mark Pereira or whatever his name is. He's actually the one that's doing the overruling and calling down to the refs and saying, you got it wrong. This is actually the call that should have been made, and they're making those changes, and they've been celebrated for doing that, because that's a lot more effective than what we have today. Because you'll hear, like when you're watching an NFL game, you'll hear Pereira say, what is that ref thinking? Like the pass interference that was called against Mike Hilton against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Pereira or Balladino, whoever that was, said that wasn't pass interference. They're just playing football. And I mean, that was a huge call in the game, continued that drive. So yeah, they got to do something to make sure they get it right, because y'all have heard me complain about NBA refs. Like, they have this stupid green light and they never change the call.
Yeah.
It's always like, and there's this one guy, I can't remember his name, but basically he just says, the challenge was unsuccessful. And when he says it like that, you know that it's nonsense. It should have been successful, but I don't know.
Yep, man.
Speaking of which, I know we got to sign off here, but did y'all see Scotty, what's his name, stud for the Raptors from Florida State, I think?
Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes. Yeah, he got ejected last night. Did you hear about that? He said he was talking to himself. The ref, and guess who the ref was? The CP3 killer, Foster.
Oh, boy.
Foster ejected him. Said that he was saying something to question the integrity of the game or our integrity as referees or something. I don't know, man. These guys get their feelings hurt. They just need to worry about doing their job. And if they get it wrong, fix it. Fix it.
I mean, you're the most insulated entity in all of sports.
That's right.
Like, you don't really get a chance to be butthurt.
That's right. No doubt. Oh, literally, Larry. In fact, I just saw a video of this, the Kings and the Lakers, whatever year that was. And Donahue, the guy that was literally betting on the games that he was reffing, was making these awful calls against Sacramento, and for the Lakers on the other side. And that's basically the reason why the Kings didn't beat the Lakers, whatever year that was.
Yeah, that was
98, 99.
That was 01.
01. Okay.
Yeah, that was the infamous year where Robert Horry had to hit the shot at the end in game 5 or something like that.
Yep. I mean, that Kings team was stacked. Peja, Weber, Mike Bibby.
Yep.
Hedo Turkoglu, a young Hedo Turkoglu dunking on everybody. Yep.
That was a very good team.
Have y'all noticed since Larry's been on the show, our show's been going almost 2 hours,
Yeah.
Look at Drew. I am not a cat. Y'all know that reference, right?
I don't know.
I don't.
Really? When the attorneys, like during COVID, the attorneys were doing a Zoom call, and the attorney got on the Zoom call, and like the judge is on there,
Oh, yeah.
all this stuff. And the guy's daughter or granddaughter or something had some cat filter on Zoom messing around, and he's on there as a cat, and he's telling everybody he's not a cat. It's like the funniest video ever. Yes, y'all will have to look that up.
I'll just go with the Santa hat.
There you go.
Apparently, bobs while I speak. All right. Too much fun with that. I'll stop.
All right. Y'all ready to sign off this thing?
Yeah.
Almost 2 hours.
All right.
All right. So I'll spare the passing it off a million times. But day one, we're glad you were here today. I know that there have been some issues getting you here on TikTok, and I know a lot of our listeners from Facebook Live are having a difficult time with this TikTok bit. Larry, thank you for joining us again today.
You've been awesome, man.
Unbelievable, man. You are helping us make this show what it is, which is exactly what we wanted it to be. When we planned this in like November timeframe, we wanted this to be a show where our listeners were just as involved as we are, and I think we've already reached that with you as a listener, and of course, Day One's always commenting as well. So thank you for making the show what it is, and we'll keep going for 2 hours. It doesn't matter, we just want to have a good time and find little things that people want to spend 8 seconds of their day watching on all the different ways that you can find us, which is, of course, YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and Apple Podcast and Spotify. And we're very consistent. We have Culture of Splife at all of those. So if you're not following us, why? Why aren't you following us? Start following us. Give us a shout out. If you have something negative to say, direct message us. Don't hurt our feelings. Well, we don't care about it. We don't have feelings in this, but don't hurt the potential for us to have the opportunities that we're looking for, right? Just talk to us offline. If you have show ideas, give those to us. We'd love to hear those. And until next time, we will see y'all either probably Monday next week, Rod? Can you do Monday next week?
Yes.
All right. We will see you next Monday at 8:30 Central. Y'all take care.
All right.